Amusham Shutparitanam Artanam Paridevita Samaishyami Madbane Vinnayastava Medasa Amusham Shutparitana Artanam Paridevitam Samaishyami Madbane Vinnayastava Medasa. Synonym: Amusham, of all of them. Shutparitanam, suffering from hunger. Artanam, of the distressed. Paridevitam, the lamentation. Samyasyami, I shall pacify. Madbane, by my arrows. Vinnayaha, being cut to pieces. Tava, of you. Medasa, by the flesh. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Now, with the help of my arrows, I shall cut you to pieces, and with your flesh satisfy the hunger-stricken citizen, who are now crying for want of grains. Thus I shall satisfy the crying citizens of my kingdom. Here we find some indication of how the government can arrange for the eating of the cow flesh. It is here indicated that in the rare circumstances when there is no supply of grains, the government may sanction the eating of meat. However, when there is sufficient food, the government should not allow the eating of cow's flesh just to satisfy the fastidious tongue. In other words, in rare circumstances when people are suffering for want of grains, meat eating or flesh eating can be allowed, but not otherwise. The maintenance of slaughterhouses for the satisfaction of tongue and the killing of animals unnecessary should never be sanctioned by a government. As described in the previous verse, cows and other animals should be given sufficient grass to eat. If despite a sufficient supply of grass, a cow does not supply milk, and if there is an acute shortage of food, the dried up cow may be utilized to feed up the hungry masses of people. According to the law of necessity, first of all, human society must try to produce food, grains, and vegetables. But if they fail in this, they can indulge in flesh eating. Otherwise, not. As human society is presently structured, there is sufficient production of grain all over the world. Therefore, the opening of slaughterhouses cannot be supported. In some nations, there is so much surplus grain that sometimes extra grain is thrown into the sea, and sometimes the government forbids further production of grain. The conclusion is that the earth produces sufficient grain to feed the entire population, but the distribution of the grain is restricted due to the trade regulation and desire for profit. Consequently, in some places there is scarcity of grain and others profuse production. If there were one government on the surface of the earth to handle the distribution of grain, there would be no question of scarcity, no necessity to open slaughterhouses, and no need to present false theories about overpopulation. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukum karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripa tamaham bande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Seek all of your blessings. Assemble devotees here as well as on Zoom. Seek your blessings so that we can discuss on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is actually Amala Puran, spoken by personality like Sukadeva Goswami, as being nourished or being heard by great sages, including Sutta Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj and many other renowned sages. So today we are discussing about Prithu Maharaj, who's none other than Lord Vishnu himself. He's a Shaktivish avatar. And here, Bhumi Devi is not producing the grains and the citizens are starving. And now she took the form of a cow and begged forgiveness. But very interestingly, Prithu Maharaj has series of verses to actually verses of chastisement. So in this verse is being spoken, he is ready to actually cut her into pieces and ready to actually give her flesh to satisfy the hunger-stricken citizens. If we take a verse out of context, it can create nothing but an atheism. We see in Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, people have tendency to take out of context verses and drive some decisions or drive some conclusions based out of that. So if you just read this translation without understanding the previous verses and future verses, it may apparently look like Prithu Maharaj is promoting that one should actually kill the cows and feed other people, which is Prabhupada is beautifully clarifying, because we see Bhumi Devi here is taking the form of a cow. So Prabhupada is beautifully mentioning the human society should live on vegetables and grains primarily, and in extremely unavoidable circumstances, if it is needed, one can eat flesh. But on the name of satisfying the tongue, one should not promote or one should not create unnecessary killing of animals. So that's an important principle which is being discussed by Srila Prabhupada here. We see Srila Prabhupada has a very interesting definition of what is humility. Humility means, Srila Prabhupada writes, saying that being aggressive about Krishna. So when we see here Prithu Maharaj is certainly apparently being very, very angry, one may think, what is the need of being so angry? We say there are 6 anarthas and anger is one of them. Why is Lord showcasing that capable? Like one time Srila Prabhupada was there. So there was a yajna which was happening. I forgot the place. It was mentioned before, but somehow I can't recollect. So the devotees did not prepare anything. And Srila Prabhupada said, can we have fruits? They didn't have fruits or any of that stuff. They didn't have ghee or they did not prepare anything, and Srila Prabhupada became angry. And one of the new person who just joined in, he said, Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, why are you getting angry? You should chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Now, if you see, who are you to teach me what is it? Do you know who am I? But Swamiji, Srila Prabhupada didn't do anything like that. Srila Prabhupada understood this is Krishna teaching me a message. He went on the other side, quiet himself, and then started chanting Hare Krishna. So, when we talk about the quality of humility, whatever is needed to exercise proper dharma, whatever is necessary to actually make things happen is important. In this context, there is a pastime which happens in Ramayana. Sri Bhrigu Muni, who is son of Lord Brahma, he actually takes the beautiful gift and offer to Lord Sri Ram. Lord Sri Ram, when he receives that beautiful gift, he said, where did you get this from? So he said, actually I went to Brahmaloka. Okay. So in Brahmaloka, the opulence of Brahmaloka is so amazing. Even the heavenly planets are ashamed to actually see the beauty of Brahmaloka. Beautiful rivers are flowing, very serene environment, the birds are chirping, such a beautiful environment there. And what I saw in this beautiful lake, there was a dead body. So Bhrigu Muni is thinking, how is that there is a dead body and that too in Brahmaloka? So he is confused. And at that time from the sky, a very beautiful Gandharva-like personality comes. And what he enters in that lake, you know that past.
Yeah. Eats the dead body.
Yeah. So he you didn't cover that yesterday, right?
No.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't get a chance to hear your class. So this beautiful personality comes and enter into the lake and starts eating that flesh. So Bhrigu Muni is confused. What is going on? I'm in Brahmaloka and what are you doing? So he asks this personality, who are you? What are you doing? You're eating the flesh and that too in Brahmaloka. So this person actually said, are you Bhrigu Muni? He said, yes, I'm Bhrigu Muni. Wow. He said, in my previous life, I was a king. And I was very charitable. I did a lot of charity. Except anybody would come on the name of dharma for asking for charity, that I would never give him. Setting up a temple, why you need a big temple? Feed people, poor people, he would feed them, give them whatever is needed from that site. Hare Krishna. He said, based on my karma, I took a birth in Brahmaloka. But when I appeared here, Brahmaji said, based on the piety which you performed, you got this Brahmaloka. But because you never gave a charity on the name of dharma, you can't get food here. Hare Krishna. You can't drink, you can't eat the food. So for you, the same dead body as a king from Prithvi Loka, we brought in here and put it for you in the lake. And you survive on that. So this king said, Brahmaji, I made a mistake. Can you please help me? Can you get me out? So Brahmaji gave him a benediction. When Bhrigu Muni comes and meet you and ask this question, at that time you will be relieved of your curse. So he offered a lot of gratitude to Bhrigu Muni and he is delivered from that curse. What is this connection of this story with this pastime? Is to really understand what is actually the principle of dharma. What is the principle or what is the rules and what are the rules and regulations which has to be, of course, followed by all citizens, but primarily for a leader. It is said in Shastra, especially Manu Samhita, very elaborately mentions, if it rains in the night, which means the king is pious. If it rains in the day, which means the king is sinful. It is inferred from that. We see in Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically that story of a Brahmana whose children are just born and they are dead. So he cries and goes to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And he actually blames that to Yudhishthira Maharaj and he says this line, that you are impious. If the king is pious and if he is godly, then the citizens will live very peacefully, and the death of a son or death of a younger one should not happen before the elder one. And if my kids' sons are dying, then something is wrong with you. Very similar principle is there. When Yudhishthira Maharaj is there, he actually appoints Bhima as the whoever comes with the problem statement, they first approach Bhima. Okay, and if Bhima is not able to solve, then he will bring them to actually Yudhishthira Maharaj. So one time there are series of questions. Actually, I just remember right now one, but it's very beautiful. If I find the class, I will make notes of it and I'll share. So he says the citizen comes to Bhima. He says, I have a pot. I transferred the water from one pot to another pot. The first pot was completely full. When I transferred into another one and again transferred it back, there is no hole in this bucket, but the half of the water is there in this. You know that fasting. Yeah. Only half of the bucket is filled. Arey, what is this? Bhima was confused. What has to be done? So comes to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj, Hare Krishna. I was just don't want to distract the topic, but there is a very beautiful class on Yaksha Prashna. Elaborate question on Niti Dharma. Very beautiful. Don't want to get into, maybe sometimes he cover amazing detail, such a how to practice Dharma actually. So he says, Yudhishthira Maharaj answers that in this world, whatever you give, only half will come back. Whether as a parent, and we see what is the meaning of a leader, a person who is a king, or who is a parent, or who is a teacher. They are actually, of course, government as well. So they are the representative of God. And if they are impious, you can see those symptoms based on that principle. Now, when we talk about the penalty or the punishment, now in Niti Shastra, or especially in Manu Samhita, there are also rules defined when to punish, how much to punish, and not less to punish and not more to punish, and who can punish. So it mentions a king can punish. If king actually punishes the citizen, he doesn't get the karma. He doesn't get the sin out of it. But if the king wrongly punishes someone, he gets the sin from that. And we know that pastime where the king punishes the rishi, the sadhu, Mandukya Rishi, and he curses, and then that's how Sri Vidurji is appearing here for this beautiful narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's Krishna's arrangement. And then that is the first one. If the king has to be very careful. The second person who can actually give the punishment is Panchayat. Like in olden times, there used to be the elderly people who are very experienced. They will be assigned as the Panchayat. I don't know what is an English term for that one. Who will actually take care of this if anybody does, because they would know in and out about the village. That's an important thing. The third thing is, who can punish? A guru can punish. If we see disciples, guru can punish. But very interesting, nowadays even that is difficult. Srila Prabhupada, he had one disciple. He was proud, thinking that he never gets chastisement. So he would think like that. So Srila Prabhupada, one devotee approached him. Srila Prabhupada, you don't say anything to him. Srila Prabhupada said, if I tell him anything, he will run away. So somehow, I'm just thinking about myself. No names here. I was just hearing something and I just wanted to share. There is one devotee who actually joined in the temple. And very, very, very young, trying to serve. This really inspired me, so I want to share. I don't want to quote the names, just to keep the confidential aspect of this devotee. So this person joined the temple, and he had thought, oh, you know what, we will to spread Srila Prabhupada's mission. He was young. He said, okay, I will do this, do this, do this. So he wanted to think that, oh, we should set up the home theater that's there to actually show Srila Prabhupada's movies and all that stuff. So the leader of the society, he came up to him next to him, gave him left and right. And this just recently just moved, that devotee moved to the temple. He said, just give me the keys, get out of here. I don't want to see you. So this devotee in the evening, in the night, was packing up his bag, crying, is this why I came here in the temple? So he was thinking himself, how do I see this incident? How would I actually see it from a different lens? So he realizes, if I can just go, I can always find out an apartment and I can stay there. But if I tolerate this, that will please my spiritual master. So he stayed there. Next day, he went to that senior leader, gave him the keys. Please forgive me about he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. Very inspiring actually. So he gave him the keys, please forgive me. So this leader was so happy. He gave him the keys. He said, gave him check of $10,000, that whatever is needed, make that happen to spread Srila Prabhupada's mission. So this devotee was sharing, if I would not have actually understood the voice of Paramatma or of my leader, of my guru, thinking that how my guru will be, he stayed there in temple for another 8 years. So he was just sharing the tolerance, this understanding the bigger aspect is very important. So guru sometimes punishes or teaches the disciple to actually correct him on that aspect, which is important. And there was a fourth personality, I can't recollect if anybody remembers. So these 4 people can punish. And then even when we talk about the punishment, it should not be given more. You see an example about Parikshit Maharaj. He put a dead snake around the neck of the rishi, and his son actually cursed him that you die in 7 days. So based on the mistake which he has done and what he has received is actually a huge difference. He is cursed to die in 7 days. And in this case, we clearly see he is not the authorized person to actually punish him. Punish the king, especially when he is keeping the Kali away. We just discussing about that last week when I spoke. Is very important, but he is cursed to actually die in 7 days. Or sometimes the leader may think that whatever mistake we do, leader says, oh, just chant 3 mantras and you're gone. So the intensity is not maintained. I remember, just to share some material example, when Sadhu Sangha used to happen in North Carolina, I used to drive. And when I would come back, every year I will get a ticket in Ohio. Every year for 3 consecutive years.
Ohio is very bad.
Ohio. There are 3 classes of learning. Shastra says, one is you hear and understand not to do that. First class learning. I was given that. Be careful there. Second way of learning is you heard, you saw people getting, and I saw that also. It's not that I didn't see them. The third one is you hear, you see, and you still want to do it. That is the third class of learning. The fourth class of learning, सुना, देखा, भोगा, उसके बाद भी repeat करूँगा. I belong to that category. So Hare Krishna, yes.
On all the 3 occasions, continuously 3 years, the fault was the same or different fault?
Same, speeding, same problem.
Ohio is very bad.
It's not Ohio is bad. Try to understand the point which you. So, another example. I just came to US and bought the car, and I was going to Gita Nagari from Chicago. Speed limit was 60 actually, and Chicago, and the speed limit is low. Everyone was driving with 80. I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't read it properly, and I drove at 85. I'm like, why to go slow? I was just, cop caught me, gave me a ticket first time. So learned it in a hard way. That's actually the unfortunate thing of people of this Kali Yuga like me. So here when we think about the punishment, whether it is given more, it discourages the person. Another person is, you minimize that punishment, you do this, they don't have even value for that. Oh, that's okay. I will just chant 3 rounds or 3 mantras and get out from there. So the punishment has to be also equivalent to, based on what is it, not the more and not less. And this is a very important principle. And also one has to be very careful understanding the other side of the story, not being judgmental about what has happened. Like as a parent, when two of your children fighting, one comes crying, you feel that guy is not at fault, and you give the other one saying that because you did it, and the reality later comes out as this guy came crying thinking that I'll be beaten up because I made a mistake, so if I cry my parents will think, oh, I didn't do anything. And that is another thing. One example which happened, so there was a devotee who was a great kirtaniya, good kirtaniya. So he came to the leader, Prabhu, I'm leaving. I don't want to do this kirtan anymore. What happened? This devotee who came, he said, don't touch the mic. Random mic unke paas. I don't want to give the kirtan. So this leader went to the other side of the story. Prabhu, why did you do like that? Prabhu, there is an earthing problem. So that the devotee may get a shock and he starts singing. So he didn't understand that aspect, that what is going on from that perspective. So when we talk about such a, it's the context, this person, I don't know much about what that is definitely there. There is a way to say that stuff.
It was very serious, it came abruptly.
Yeah, was something like that. And then the other thing is, the timing also has to be careful. For an example, you see how Krishna is so sensitive. When the Rajsuya Yajna is happening, Shishupal, that is the time actually Shishupal crosses the limit. When the Rajsuya Yajna is supposed to happen, there should not be any bloodshed. So everyone is about to pick up their sword and try to actually about to kill Shishupal. But Lord Krishna stops and he actually removes his Sudarshana and he releases him. So that the bloodshed, not a single drop of blood actually fell off and Yajna was able to finish. Same way you see, when Krishna actually, which is discussing about his name, one of the name is Ranchod. When he was actually, Jarasandha actually attacked so many times Krishna, every time got defeated. But in spite of that, he thought, oh, I will win this time. So when he attacks one time, Krishna runs away from there. And he is calling, why are you leaving? And that happens when he calls, actually Krishna disguises himself along with Bhima and Arjuna to come to him for a fight, Jayadratha. That was Jayadratha, right? Jarasandha. Yeah, yes, thank you. Sorry, I get confused between these two names. So then he said, Are, I don't want to fight with you. You run away, you're a coward. Are, tumko itni baar haraya, I don't remember. But you remember one time I ran away. And why did he run away? Because he didn't want to create a bloodshed in actually the Bhumi of Mathura. So he ran away from there. I don't want to have that trouble. And that another reason which happens here is that when the Rajsuya Yajna is supposed to happen, Krishna actually goes disguised with Bhima and Arjuna, because this guy has to be killed first or this guy has to be defeated, otherwise Rajsuya Yajna will not happen. So this is the niti, or this is the rule, which this is the idea which with Uddhavji is telling you, go there. And he goes there in disguise and he goes as a Brahmana and asks for the charity and he says, I want to fight. And then he doesn't fight and he fights with Bhima and then he is killed there by the plan of Lord Krishna. But why did he go there? Because he didn't want again that guy to come in and create a bloodshed which shouldn't happen before the Rajsuya Yajna. So coming back to the point, when we think about here, Prithu Maharaj is actually trying to tell the cow, tell the Bhumi that I will cut you into the pieces and feed to the hunger-stricken citizens, is to actually make sure that this doesn't happen in future. And he is setting up that principle based on that everyone has to actually see the welfare of everyone around us. One has to be very careful, very thoughtful in terms of dealing with others. It is said One time, I don't remember who said, but very beautiful line. Yogul Kishore Prabhu repeated as well, but very beautiful line which was said that why we have chanted sufficient enough to go back to Godhead. But because we have what's 8:15 and sorry वो clock but we have but it's the same
No, another one.
no Prabhu asked me to finish at 9.
We already sent another one.
Thank you, Prabhu. Every dealing one has to be really sensitive that we like sorry I was just speaking about we have chanted enough to go back to Godhead, but it's just because of our aparad Vaishnava aparad which is causing us to stay here. So it's a very important to actually imbibe the quality of sensitivity, which does not mean just being humble and then tolerating everything. In this case, Prithu Maharaj is setting up an example, but at the same time, we are not the king, we are not the administrator, we are not the government authority, or we are not the panchayat, we are not the president, which is very important that I do not have that right to actually correct someone. And I have to be very sensitive towards other devotees' feeling because ultimately Krishna consciousness is all about being conscious of Krishna. And one can only be conscious of Krishna when one knows how to respect every living entity, when one sees everyone in Krishna, and when one sees Krishna in everyone in every situation. What is Krishna trying to teach me here? So this is all I wanted to speak. Just to summarize what we discussed today, we discussed this verse of Prithu Maharaj is actually trying to chastise Bhumi Devi, and he is saying that I will cut you with my arrows and actually feed your skin to all the citizens because they are starving. Srila Prabhupada beautifully mentioned in the purport, one should not, an extreme situation which fortunately none of us are, and Krishna willing will not be there, to actually always survive on vegetation and grains rather than actually maintaining this unhygienic way of killing anyone, doing a cruelty and eating them. And we spoke about the example about Bhrigu Muni, who actually went to heavenly planet, and this king never actually did any charity on the name of Dharma, and he had to eat his own body. And we gave an example about, we spoke about this principle that who are qualified to actually punish. We gave an example about king. We gave an example about panchayat in the form of, in the names of villages. We spoke about the guru. I forgot the fourth one. Please forgive me about that one. And then when someone is punishing, it could not, the punishment should not be more than the offense and should not be less, because if it is less, then one should not value that one. So one has to understand the punishment should be applied at right time. And we gave an example about Rajsuya Yagya. And we give an example on that front saying that one has to be very careful not to do that. And we gave an example about Ranchor. And then whenever the timing is important, the quantity is important, and then the intention is also important. It should be for the welfare. And the guru, of course, I mentioned for who can punish, but and also the intention is very important, not to actually put someone down, but to actually help him go more towards Krishna. With that, I want to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Any comments or reflections before we end? Okay, thank you so much again for you all joining today. Please forgive me if I spoke anything which is not in connection with scriptures or which did not appeal your heart. I beg forgiveness and request you all to pray, because at the end of the day, when we talk about Amala Purana, someone has to be actually realized to actually speak on such topics, and I am not. I have my own shortcomings. I am struggling from bottom of my heart. So sincerely seek your blessings, sincerely seek your prayers. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much. Samaveda Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna. I'm ending now.